Hello, welcome to the Trews. I'm Russell Brand. Jeremy Clarkson looks like he's on the verge of being sacked by the BBC for yet another scandal. If Clarkson is sacked, what does that mean when he's the most powerful man on the BBC?
Brash, opinionated, popular, often controversial, but now he's off air.
I've met Jeremy Clarkson and he seems like a really decent human being, but on a cultural level, what does he represent?
The BBC said following a fracas with a BBC producer, Jeremy Clarkson has been suspended pending an investigation.
I like the word fracas for a start. I think he smacked someone in the mouth, didn't he? I'm gonna fracas you! I fractured my jaw.
Top Gear will not be broadcast this Sunday. For a presenter already on a final warning, he could have run out of road.
People have said before that Clarkson was the dynamite that detonated the territory for the emergence of Nigel Farage. A kind of blokey, self-assured, come on, let's go back to the old days. Wouldn't it just be better if we drank a pint and had a fag and drove a car? Are you drunk driving that car?
Controversy and Jeremy Clarkson have often gone hand in hand. He was forced to apologise after claims he'd used a racist word.
So Jeremy Clarkson's obviously a person that has a lot of energy and a lot of attention focused on him. What is it about this man that seems so important? A sort of a self-assured white man, a kind of version of Britain that's beginning to fade, that we're afraid of as growing diversity and the need to be more tolerant and understanding of people with different kinds of requirements as that emerges as part of our cultural narrative of who we are. There are some people that are like, no, I want things to be the same. This is PC gone mad. He's the living embodiment of the attitude of PC gone mad. That's why I suppose he has created the space for a figure like Nigel Farage to emerge. It's not like you want to judge Jeremy Clarkson pejoratively, particularly not me. I've been obviously the subject of BBC scandals myself. I know what it's like to be the eye of a storm, particularly when you feel like it's getting inflated and conflated with different ideas and different incidents. And what you realise when it's happening is the media don't actually care about the content. No one that writes about this will be like, Clarkson done what? He punched the producer. That is so out of us. That could have been my producer face that got punched. Oh, they just think he's brilliant, more fuel, more nonsense, more claptrap to report on. What they care about is just proliferating a story.
Filming in Burma, the programme was criticised by the broadcasting regulator after he used a derogatory word for an Asian man.
The BBC are in a near impossible position. He's one of their most charismatic figures. The Top Gear franchise is their most valuable global asset, and without Clarkson, it's not a show. But it's interesting, isn't it, that the show Top Gear centres on the characters of these three protagonists, and most notably Clarkson, and the automobile, the ultimate symbol of individualism, the anti-community vehicle. Could we be getting a train across London together? No, I'm going in my car. I'm gonna be in my car. But your car is destroying the environment. Your car isn't necessary. So what?
And a diplomatic incident in Argentina where they drove a car that seemed to refer to the 1982 Falklands War.
He almost sparked a riot in Argentina after he was seen driving a Porsche with a number plate H982 Falklands, a reference to the Falklands War. Again, there's sort of like a pride in Britain, like a sort of a pride that's connected to an uncomplicated time when you wouldn't think, oh, what would it be like to be Argentinian, all those teenage combatants. He's a hangover from colonial Britain. He's a hangover from all that mattered was strength. If you can do it, why wouldn't you?
Tonight on Twitter, his suspension hadn't stopped the banter. No Top Gear this weekend apparently, said co-presenter James May. Jeremy Clarkson replied, I did some pretty good war documentaries, they could screen one of those.
So he's not just implicitly political, he's explicitly political. He vocalises the idea that disabled people are weak. He vocalises the idea that sort of immigrant culture ought not be here. He vocalises the idea that if you win a war, you don't have to be sensitive to the feelings of the losers. And in fact, in his tweet in response to this scandal, he said, sorry, Ed, referring to Ed Miliband, it seems I knocked your I'm a human piece down the news agenda. So that's he's explicitly conservative in values and attitude and uses this incident to promote his views. I'm not saying that Jeremy Clarkson is an evil man or a malevolent man. I don't believe in those kind of ideas. But why Clarkson is an exciting phenomenon is he represents a Britain and a mentality even beyond Britain that we can't afford to have anymore. It's one of rampant individualism and a lack of compassion and empathy for people that are vulnerable. And that is really the opposite of community.
Watched by millions on a programme that makes the presenter and the BBC millions.
It's interesting that Top Gear is the most popular British programme in America because it's a programme about cars, and the car is the epitome of things that need to change. When the automobile was invented, it was no problem. Buy a car, buddy, it's going to be fine, it gets you from A to B. Hey, we found out that those cars are destroying the environment. Shut up, buddy, we're carrying on. No, seriously, we've got to have less cars. No, we're giving tax breaks to cars. Buddy, we'll kill you if you don't let us have our cars. It's the ultimate individual product, and the ultimate individualist come together in a perfect storm, perfect product.
I think it would be a very brave man who says no more Jeremy Clarkson on Top Gear, because he's an intrinsic part of the package.
Top Gear is a phenomenon because it's got a great individualist as a presenter, and it's got a great individualistic product at its core. It's part of a genre of programming that acts as propaganda for the system we have. Top Gear, The Apprentice, individual pursuit of individual success. That's the life you should lead. Be like Jeremy Clarkson. Neck a coke, drive your car, don't think, F off N-words, screw you Falklands. Is that the world you want to live in?
But for the BBC, it's no laughing matter. A decision to be made about one of its biggest stars in one of its most popular and lucrative shows.
What is it in us that likes Jeremy Clarkson, that likes figures like Nigel Farage? It's interesting that Clarkson is flanked by James May and Richard Hammond, sort of more neutered, more likeable versions of a contemporary man. I suppose the reason that I find Jeremy Clarkson appealing is because of his brashness, because he isn't always thinking, oh, that might hurt someone's feelings. He isn't thinking that cars are dangerous and release toxic fumes. He's just thinking, look, I'm me. Things are gonna be okay. It's a kind of an old-fashioned idea that's still somewhat appealing. It's difficult as society grows, as awareness grows, to incorporate other people's values, to incorporate more compassion and tolerance, to be open to the idea that your own individuality is not the most important thing in the world. Your own individual goals are not the most important things in the world. So I suppose what we find attractive about Jeremy Clarkson is his unapologetic individualism, an old-fashioned attitude that I think has to change if we're gonna have a planet that's fairer, more tolerant, and ultimately saved because it hasn't been utterly engulfed in car fumes. There's some true news. Subscribe here.
Nose is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Trews is like the nose. If the nose was true, I want some Trews. Let's have some Trews.